For more on the money and ISIL's oil strategy, I'm joined by Kamran Bokhari, at the University of Ottawa. He's a specialist in countering violent extremism and also the author of Political Islam and the Age of Democratization. Good to see you, sir. Thank you for joining us. Let me start with the financing question. A lot of people are asking, why can't we just cut off the financing arm? Why is it so hard?
One of the key reasons why that's very hard to do is that we don't have that granular level of intelligence and insight into the system, the financial system of ISIS. What we have is a macro level understanding of how they try to use their oil exports to make money, extortion, and other sectors of the economy. But what we don't have is the granular and detailed, nuanced intelligence that is required to disrupt it. We just don't have the layout of how they're able to extract oil, ship it, finance it, get the money. I mean, that's a huge logistical supply chain that we just don't have enough information on.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I mean, it normally costs companies, billions and billions of building out infrastructure and pipelines and trucks. I mean, you would think, all this can be seen from the sky, that the coalition would be, I'm assuming, bombing some of these targets. But let me ask you this. Once they get the oil out, who's buying it? How are they paying for it? And how are they actually getting the oil?
Well, there are a number of end users. So one of them we have come to know is that the Assad regime, for its own interest, is also procuring oil from ISIS in a very indirect way. But the mainstay of the oil exports is through Turkey. That's the only area through which ISIS can actually export oil. And there are plenty of people, middlemen, who used to be small-time players in a market dominated by the bigger players who were close to the government. Along comes ISIS, and there's an opportunity to make money. And from their point of view, ideology doesn't matter. At the end of the day, if they can make money, they'll help do it and facilitate that oil export and send the proceeds back to ISIS.
Okay, this is a question I've been wanting to ask for a long time. So we're talking not about hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, that ISIS or ISIL has to put their money, right? How are they doing the banking on this? Don't they have to deposit their money somewhere? They can't be keeping billions of dollars in someone's house.
You see, that's the thing that we're not really too clear about. When I say we, I mean the international community's intelligence agencies and the security agencies in terms of those who are trying to interdict it. We know that they're using some banking, some mainstream international banking systems, but they're also using a lot of what is called the Hawala system, which bypasses the international, the banks and the financial networks that operate electronically. And so there are a lot of ways in which this is happening, and we really don't have good answers in terms of the entire layout of the channels that they're using. If we did, we probably would have by now been able to figure out a way to interdict this form of commerce.
Yeah, it's really unbelievable. I mean, I came from the finance background. I can tell you every dollar and cent is checked back and forth, and you have to verify this and that. It would just seem to me, for the international community, it wouldn't be, I don't want to say difficult, but there surely must be quite a bit of leads they can follow. Let me just change the topic briefly. This, the land issue. A lot of people are talking about how ISIS has controlled more and more and more and more land. In fact, they're not even that far from Baghdad at this point. How important is the land aspect of their movement?
That is the core and the mainstay of their power. Their ability to control areas as far as northeastern Syria, central Syria, all the way to within 50 kilometers or so of Baghdad. I mean, and I'm not saying these are contiguous areas, but they have pockets, large pockets and swaths of land under their control. Unless there are ground forces, boots on the ground, that can fight their way through, retake these areas, we can't really put a dent into the ISIS military machine. And that's the dilemma. That's the conundrum. We don't have those boots on the ground. They're just not there.
Very quickly, as you know, France is taking the lead on this. If you were to advise the government of steps to take, what would you tell them to do?
I mean, I think that everyone, not just France, needs to realize that we're not dealing with a run-of-the-mill terrorist group, and those classic counterterrorism methods just don't cut it. We're dealing with an entity that controls territory and at the same time is able to mount transcontinental attacks. What does that tell you? Well, that tells you that this is not just a guerrilla insurgent force. It's pretty much an army, a multi-divisional, if I can use that word. And at the same time, they have an intelligence apparatus that is able to pull off these long-distance attacks. We're dealing with a very sophisticated institution, and we need to get sophisticated in our ability to frame the problem, understand it, and then find a way and find the weaknesses of ISIS.